Since the start of Hyrule, the goddess Hylia has always protected her land. She incarnated herself into a mortal Hylian and watched over the land as its princess. This legend has repeated itself time and time again throughout Hyrule's history, with each princess being a reincarnation of the goddess known as Zelda. So with each disaster Hyrule faced with, the princess would rise to her duty and help protect her land. Cause without her, Hyrule would be doomed from whatever tragedy struck. The princess must be prepared at all times from the curse that has plagued Hyrule for thousands of years, Ganon. But in Breath of the Wild, the princess wasn't ready for the legend to repeat itself, causing her to watch her kingdom crumble before her eyes, and lose everything and everyone that prepared her for this moment. So in this video, I want to take a closer look at Zelda's journey to awakening her powers and fulfilling her destiny in Breath of the Wild. As thanks to the Creating a Champion book, we have a little more insight on what Zelda went through during the Great Calamity. This is the story of Princess Zelda's awakening. With the possibility of Calamity Ganon's revival approaching, Princess Zelda's responsibility weighed heavy on her. As being born into the royal family as its princess, she inherits the blood of the goddess Hylia and the power that comes with it. Many princesses before her were naturally adept at awakening and utilizing their power. Even Princess Zelda's mother would mention how she felt the power overflowing inside her. However, Princess Zelda's mother, Hyrule's queen, passed away suddenly when Zelda was only 6 years old. Being so young, her mother hadn't gotten a chance to pass her knowledge of that power to her. This causing Zelda from when she was only 7 years old and after, to dedicate her time and research to awaken her sealing powers. She would make pilgrimage after pilgrimage to seek out and pray to the sacred springs to find how to awaken her power. She also became a member of the relic research team along with Impa and the other Sheikah, learning about the ancient Sheikah tech and the relics left behind. Her father, on the other hand, King Rome, did not see any value in her research and prohibited involvement with relics, ordering her to focus her training to awaken her powers, as ultimately, Calamity Ganon could strike at any given moment, and without Zelda's mother, it was solely up to Zelda to take responsibility and awaken her power to be prepared to seal Calamity Ganon when the time comes. During Zelda's training, she searched far and wide on how to awaken her powers. She began at the age of 7 years old training, dedicating most of her life to try to unlock her powers. And after 10 years of researching and training, she decides to go to the last spring she had yet to visit, the Spring of Wisdom, in order to see if she could find answers there, as the Spring of Wisdom, located on Mount Lanayru, didn't allow those under the age of 17. So, on her 17th birthday, she ventured up the mountain with Link to seek answers. Sadly, it was not meant to be. While leaving the mountain, the remaining time she had to seek her powers had come to a halt, as Calamity Ganon emerged suddenly from deep beneath Hyrule Castle. Even though his return was prophesized, it was so hard to accept after 10,000 years of peace. And with Calamity Ganon having suffered from the mechanical Sheikah Guardians created 10,000 years ago to defeat him, he had a new trick this time around, as he used his power to take control of the Sheikah Guardians, using them as his own army. He also used his powers to possess the 4 divine beasts and turn them against Hyrule. And without Princess Zelda's powers awakened, everything goes wrong. The casualties were countless. Hyrule Castle was burned. Its king, Zelda's father, was killed, along with his soldiers trying to save their kingdom. And shortly after Calamity Ganon gaining control of the divine beasts, their champion pilots were also killed off. Everything that prepared Hyrule for this moment backfired, as Zelda was the true key to all of this at the end of the day. So, with Zelda's powers still dormant, Link had to fight with everything he had to protect her and stop this destruction. Eventually though, Link's legendary energy gave out, as it was too much for him. Zelda, seeing Link in this state, finally, after all this time, rises to face her fate, and at that moment, her power awakens. All of a sudden, the Triforce on her hand glows, and she uses extraordinary powers to destroy the remaining guardians surrounding them and saves what's left of Link. Though with Link fatally wounded, she hears a voice from within the Master Sword calling her, with her only being able to hear it now as her powers have awoken. The voice coming from within the sword was the very same spirit that resided within the Master Sword from the beginning of its creation. The sword's voice offered her guidance and helped Zelda save Link from the brink of death, as the sword tells Zelda to take Link to the Shrine of Resurrection to be healed. So quickly, Zelda orders Ashika to take Link to the Shrine of Resurrection and pass the message down onto Impa. With Link taken care of, she sets out to the Great Deku Tree with the Master Sword and finds its resting place. That way, the sword could await for Link again for when he reawakens, as she knew that the healing process would cause Link to lose his memory. So awaiting for Link to eventually awaken, she sets out alone to Hyrule Castle to use her newly awakened powers and seal Calamity Ganon within the castle itself. With her newly awakened sealing powers, she is able to stop Calamity Ganon's destruction from going any further and lock him within Hyrule Castle until Link awakens to help defeat him. This causes Zelda to await 100 years for Link to finally awaken, as that is how long it took for Link to heal. But with no other option and everything else lost, that was Hyrule's only hope. So when you really think about it, what truly awoken Zelda's sealing powers was Link. Seeing Link in that state caused her to bring out the powers that took her 10 years of training to do. And while her mother was unable to pass down her knowledge to her before passing away, I think we can assume that the real key to awaken her powers was love. Her love for Link brought her to this state. And while it sucks that things had to escalate to that degree to push her to that level, can you blame her? If Zelda's mother was still alive, she wouldn't have had all this responsibility. It was all forced upon her at such a young age, putting so much pressure on her. Even her father wanted nothing more but for her to be prepared for her destiny. And as Hyrule's king, it made sense in why he felt that way. It troubled him knowing that his kingdom was at the threat of evil in any given moment. All he wanted was for his daughter to be prepared for what was at hand. While he cared for her deeply, he had to be nothing but stern on her, as the fate of everyone depended on it. And this really upset Zelda, as she felt like a failure. Even to the likes of Link, seeing how natural it was for him to fit into his role. He was such a gifted warrior at a similar age to hers, as she at first envied Link. But the more she got to know him, she slowly realized that everyone has struggles with this world, slowly growing more fond of Link as time went on. With Link being her appointed knight, seeing all the risks that he took for her brought her closer to him. All up until the point where Link almost died for her, probably awakening her true feelings for him and awakening her power itself. And I mean, can you blame her? Who doesn't end up falling in love with Link? She definitely isn't the first. Though the question is, does Link feel the same way for her? It's honestly really hard to tell, especially when Link looks like he almost never gives a shit most of the time. Regardless, the way Breath of the Wild goes into such a deep story and meaning makes it such an interesting concept to explore. I love this darker turn Nintendo went for. Hyrule had pretty much lost the battle. They only had one last card to play, and that turn it took them 100 years. But in the end, they prevailed, regardless of how long it took. Though what I find odd is why the game never explained why Zelda never ages during the 100 years. Could it be that she sealed herself up along with Calamity Ganon awaiting for Link? Either way, it both leaves them at the same age they were 100 years ago, to start anew, as Hyrule's looming threat that lasted 100 years is finally sealed away. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. What did you guys think of Zelda's story? I honestly feel bad for all the pressure Zelda had to endure at such a young age. But this more darker approach for the game's story and the conclusion it had to be one of my favorites within the series. Though what else would you like to see me cover from the Creating a Champion book? Let me know in the comments. And as always, I would really appreciate it if you left a like on the video. Thanks again for watching. Special thanks to my girlfriend Sasa for the thumbnail art as usual. Anywho, I've been ZeldaMaster and I'll see you all in the next one.